I want to start this episode by making something clear. After years of research, I believe we are living in the end times and in the midst of spiritual affairs. Maybe I can do another video on that, but anyways, there is a spiritual war going on between good and evil in this world. The closer we get to the end of the world, the more desperate Satan becomes, because if he does not overthrow God by Judgment Day, he is cast into the pit of fire to never return. Essentially, Satan exists to take down as many people to hell with him as he can because he himself is fucked. I saw a comedy skit of Louis C.K. one time where he said he just bought both his daughters new toys. One daughter accidentally broke her toy and told the dad to break the sister's toy because if she couldn't have the toy, then no one can. Essentially, this is the mindset of the devil. If he can't be saved, then he will see to it that no one is saved, or try to at least. So, that being said, the truth is a hard one to swallow. There are things going on in this world that would make the Matrix look like a child's bedtime story. That being said, I said that the last victim set the scene, but this one not only sets the stage, it does so even more blatantly proclaim the devil's state, mindset, and actuality, which I will get back to in a moment. The demonic alien slug in episode 1 was the first screenshot I obtained of the series, however it was not the first art piece that I completed in the series. This is the first, and oh boy, it's a doozy. Now, I'm about to sound absolutely insane, but please bear with me. What we have here is the devil wearing a hat, riding an AK-47 in midair, flailing his arms with yet another demonic slug above him. But before we tackle the whole image, because it's quite dense, let's clarify the face. Here's the right eye, the left eye, the nose, the mouth, and the rest of the facial outline. And of course the hat. Now that we have clarified the face, let's back up and clarify what I said what's happening here, which is again, the devil wearing a hat, riding an AK-47 like a pony. Take a moment and see if you can see what I described in the image. If not, that's fine. Let's break it down. So we mapped out the head, but the fiesta doesn't end here. Here's the right arm, here's his left arm, his left leg, and now it gets a little suspect. First of all, theoretically, if someone straddles a gun the way the devil is in the image, from the left perspective, the mid part of the right leg would be blocked by the gun as if it were a seesaw, a horse, or a carousel, and this image follows that concept. The top of the right leg is visible, then around the knee to thigh area is hidden behind the gun, then the bottom of the leg seems to be normal. Or does it? Make a mental note of the bottom right leg. It will be significant in a few moments. Here's the butt, here's the trigger, here's the frontal butt and scope, here's the barrel, here's the mid handle, here's the frontal handle, here's the flash hider. I only know that part of the gun because I looked it up on Google. And here's the tip. Remember I said make a note of the bottom right foot? Well, if you haven't caught on yet, the bottom right foot is not only a foot, it is the rear handle of the AK-47 that is gripped when pulling the trigger, signifying that the devil is pulling the trigger and shooting down as many as he can in and out of the image. It is clear that the bottom right leg is a place of significance, being that it is an imagery synonym, so let's examine it a little further. A common method of deception used by Satan is inversion. Make a note of this, it will be significant in a minute. So the leg is a deception. If you take the word leg and you harden the vowel E, it becomes league, hence League of Legends. And this leg is also the handle that is gripped when pulling the trigger, therefore signifying that the devil is pulling the trigger and shooting down as many souls as he can in and out of the image. So that just about wraps up the devil wearing a hat, riding an AK-47, but there's more to be seen. When I was describing the image at the beginning of the video, I said that there was a giant slug above the devil wearing a hat riding an AK-47. Let's investigate this slug. But before I accentuate the image with an outline, let's acknowledge something. The devil wears a fictional facade of love that he uses to deceive people into believing him and his lies. In fact, not only does he deceptively lie, but he presents himself as an angel of light. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light, according to Corinthians 2:11-14. Before we go any further, I want to make it clear that I am not here to spiritually convert anyone. I only intend to present the facts. You make up your mind for yourself. But anyways, anyone who knows or believes in the Bible will tell you that Jesus Christ is the truth, the way, and the light. They will tell you he is the light in darkness. Now, this might seem like I'm getting off track, but this is significant for understanding the slug imagery. Like I just said, Jesus Christ is represented by the light in the dark. Now, a large part of interpreting these images is through representation. For example, the heart represents Jesus Christ because Jesus is the light in the dark, and the heart is literally a light in the dark. It is bright red with blackness completely engulfing it. But before we go any further, let's map out the rest of the slug. Keep in mind that the mouth is open. This will be significant. Here's the right eye, the left eye, the lower jaw, the rest of the skull outline, and the full body. There are a few more layers to this image, however, let's back up for a second. Remember I said make a note of the fact that the mouth is open? Remember this guy? If we examine the slug, there is something significant to what he is doing. Any guesses? The slug's mouth is open because it's eating the devil's hat. The hat is actually a little bit longer than the way I drew it earlier for the sake of clarity, but this is the full hat, and the devil slug chomping away on it. You might be asking, why is this significant? Well, remember how we decoded league from leg by hardening the vowel? Here we can use the same technique. If we harden the vowel in hat, it becomes hate, and the image represents that the devil is feeding on hate, and to me, this is not so far off. The devil is the root of all evil, and hate is a sin, and sins pull you away from God. That is exactly what this represents, the devil feeding on sin or hate. To me, it is pretty clear that the heart, which is literally and figuratively a representation of Jesus, is relevant. It represents Christ because it is literally and figuratively the light in darkness, and that's exactly one of the names that Jesus goes by. He is known as the light in darkness. The visual representation is this. The heart is a bright red, which is a bright or light color, and it is surrounded by black or darkness on all sides. Let's dive even deeper down the rabbit hole. When we reverse the image, we are presented with yet another layer of satanic trickery. What was a satanic slug feeding on hate is now a more demonic slug with added features, along with the cement that solidifies my point after all this analysis. So it is clear that the heart represents Christ, but why is this significant? Well, let's exploit Satan's most common form of encryption against him. If we inverse the image, we are presented with yet another layer of satanic trickery. What was a slug representing itself as if it were an angel of light is now quite the opposite. If we further this encryption and we inverse the slug, we are presented with an image of the devil himself. And guess what? That heart in the original is now inversed too, but I'll get back to that in a sec because that's the final piece to the puzzle. Let's break it down. The eyes that were right above the upper jaw gave the slug a large head. Now the same eyes are now at the top of the head, and the open bottom jaw of the previous slug is now the left horn, and the right horn presents itself. Here's the rest of the outline of the head. Here's a big cheesy smile, and here's the slug body. And here we have the inverted heart, which is the most important piece to this puzzle. Make a mental note of this because it will be the preliminary nail in the casket that proves this theory. Remember how the heart in darkness represents Christ? This image is at the heart of the slug, presumably representing that it is of Christ via the imagery. However, when we inverted the slug, we inverted the symbolism, and when you invert the symbolism of a representation of Christ, this is what you are left with. None other than a satanic cross, which is the face of Satan himself. In my 2 intro videos and episode 1, I touched on my belief that aliens are demonic beings from hell and they are operating closely with the devil and demonic forces. Aliens are a recurrent theme in these images that I have unmasked, and yes, there is a UFO spacecraft in the image. But before I go any further, I wanted to make something clear. The concept of aliens is not so far off. In fact, NASA scientists expect to find aliens within 20 years, according to an article by Margie Murphy published on November 17, 10:36 a.m. In fact, the threat of aliens is so real that there is a government-issued emergency action plan for an invasion that would include an emergency public service announcement on TVs and radios, you'd get a Facebook warning, and cell phones would receive an emergency alert. That being said, I am not a Catholic by a landslide, but in the Catholic Church, when one accepts the body of Christ into their body and soul by taking communion, they are accepting and becoming one with keywords body of Christ. But for every up, there's a down. And on the flip side, if someone unites with Satan, they are becoming one with and spiritually joining the body of Satan. This might sound random, but it's not. The aliens, again, literally and figuratively, not only are presented as within the body of Satan in the image, but the alien spacecraft is literally the inverted slug devil's body. Take a look for yourself. Remember this guy? Take a look at what I outlined earlier as the slug body. Now take a look at this. To me, this seems to be an alien spacecraft. However, there's more significance to this UFO than you would think. Remember we inverted the first slug to uncover the next, and how the symbolism of Christ was inverted to create the representation of a satanic cross? Well, this symbol of the devil is right smack dab in the middle of the alien spacecraft, symbolically signifying that the aliens are indeed not only visually in the body of Satan, but they are also united with satanic forces and the devil himself.
You're all going to hell. You're all going to hell. You're all going to hell. How about that? It's the end of the world. You know it, boy, because you're looking at me. You're one of me.
Now, I have a couple more observations, but because the video is so dense, I'll leave them out. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I believe we are in the end times and spiritual war is being waged. Wake the fuck up and take a reality check, because things are not as they seem as seen in the video. But anyways, that about wraps up the video. As always, here's my artistic perspective of the image. But keep in mind, this was the first piece of the series, so it is not exactly how I would have liked it to be. For example, the angle of the gun is way off, and the mouth is off. But anyways, see you next episode, and as always, please spread the truth and share. God bless.
You're all going to hell. How about that? It's the end of the world. You know it, boy, because you're looking at me. You're one of me. Hi, dog children. I know my children. I can smell you.